Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a Q&A. I asked you guys on Instagram if you had any questions for me, and you responded with quite a few. So I'm here to answer the questions, and the twins are right next to me, so you're gonna hear them like making noise, and I'll probably be picking them up and setting them back down. They're wide awake. I just fed them, so I was like, okay, hopefully they'll take a nap because I need to go run some errands, and so I was hoping that they'll like, you know, take a nap, but they are wide awake, which is fine. I'd rather than be wide awake now and not at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it works for me. But this video will probably be like a two-part video because there's a lot of questions and I have a tendency to talk a lot when I'm answering questions. So anyway, I'm just gonna go from the top of the post with all the questions and just work my way down. So the first question is, I know you're starting to work on baby step 6. How long do you think it will take to complete? So we haven't sat down and like actually did the numbers to try to like project, you know, a time frame. What I think would be an amazing goal is sometime within the next 10 years. I think that would just be really awesome. That might be a little aggressive. I don't know how possible that is. Something I would like to attempt though is that any income that I bring in from YouTube, I would like to use that money to pay extra towards the principal of our home. Since I'm not working, you know, YouTube does act as a little bit of income for us, which is great. So I would like to be able to take that money and apply it towards our house. I think it'd be a really fun goal to be like, YouTube paid off my house, you know. So I don't know how possible that is, you know. Again, we have to do the numbers, but again, we hadn't really chatted about it, but I think sometime within the next 10 years would be nice. Okay, so the next question is, what was the most frightening aspect of the recent hurricane in regard to having the twins around that time frame, and also the most frightening thing in general related to the hurricane? So they're asking about Hurricane Harvey. We live in Houston, and Hurricane Harvey was about a month and a half ago, and honestly, like, gosh, you know, we every year have the, you know, chance of having some kind of a hurricane or a tropical storm. So you know, sometimes it's a bad habit, but you can kind of like let your guard down a little bit because it's just every year it's hurricane season, you know, and you have to be prepared. But typically it's like you don't really start paying attention until something's kind of like in the Gulf or for sure has this projected path like that's gonna hit you. And so for me, and for us, I was pregnant with the twins and I just wasn't really paying attention, honestly. And so thankfully I went in a week ahead, so I was able to have them get out of the hospital, you know, and be home. So it's safe to say I was distracted. I was not paying attention to the news at all whatsoever. And Jackson came home first, and then Deacon came home a few days later. And Deacon actually came home that Friday, which was the day that the storm was hitting. And we went and we scooped him up. We came home. We knew that there was a storm. I didn't really have to go out and like buy anything because I had so much stuff like for twin prep, you know, like freezer meals and just food, you know. So we didn't really have to buy anything. And you know, we just came home and we were hanging out with the twins, focusing on them. Weren't really paying attention to like the news or anything like that because we were just so preoccupied. And it wasn't until gosh, I think it was like that Saturday night, because you know the storm was projected to hit Corpus Christi, which is south of us. So I wasn't, that was another reason why I was like, oh, it's fine, we're not gonna get anything. But it wasn't until that Saturday night, whenever, you know, we knew that the storm was like heading, you know, or it was on top of us and we were getting a lot of rain. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning and I was up and I was, you know, hanging out with the twins, like feeding them and everything, and it was raining so hard. And I looked outside and the water was halfway up our yard, and that freaked me out because our home is a little bit higher than, you know, most houses, I guess you could say. So we're a little bit more elevated with the way our street is. So that meant that there was about 5 feet of water outside, like in the middle of the road, in comparison to like where our house was. And so that kind of freaked me out. We had to move our cars up because obviously we didn't want them to get flooded. And it wasn't until like the next morning when I actually like turned on the news and started to pay attention to what was going on. I was just blown away, honestly, because I had no idea how bad it was. Because again, we were just checked out. We were on Team Twins, you know, like dealing with them. And when I started to see the news crews, like around our area especially, that there were boats like in the parking lots of restaurants that we would eat at, and places that we would go, you know, visit, and parks that we would go to, that there were boats floating around those areas, that we were 5 minutes away from that. Totally blew my mind, scared me to death. Matt and I both were like, oh my gosh. And the thing is with our street, is that it would rain really, really heavy, so the water would get really, really high really fast, and then it would stop, and then the water would, you know, go down. And it kept doing this like over and over and over again. And thankfully they opened up a reservoir in our area that helped to flow that water out. But every neighborhood around us flooded, and we don't have flood insurance. And so that, it just, I know this is like a long, you know, response to this question. Matt and I both were really freaked out for a little bit that our house was gonna flood. And we had preemie twins at home. And especially just seeing on the news that, you know, people, again, in neighborhoods 5 minutes from us were being rescued out of their house by boat. Terrified. I was totally terrified. We just, again, by the grace of God, didn't flood. We never lost power. The street across the, or the houses across the street from us lost power for days. We didn't. And again, thank God, because I don't know what we would have done with twins. I mean, we were prepared in the sense of having food. We had a generator. We had gas for the generator, so we would have been okay. But if we would have flooded, we wouldn't have been. And another weird thing about the hurricane, and I'll wrap up this question, there's at least 4 houses that we looked at, that we put offers in on, that for sure flooded. Like, I know guaranteed flooded, because those entire neighborhoods flooded. So I just think it just blows my mind, like how close we got to buying a house and being in that position where they flooded. So very fortunate. I've never been through anything like that, and our experience was nothing compared to what some people went through in this area. That was just a horrible storm. It was awful. Okay, next question is, are you still taking college courses, or have you changed your mind about becoming a teacher? I'm not currently enrolled in school. I have way too much going on right now with just life, but I have not changed my mind about being a teacher. I love the idea of being a teacher. I think that's so awesome. We went to an open house the other day at Connor's school, and I was there for like 2.5 hours. I mean, they had to kick me out. I just was like talking to the teachers and looking at the classrooms, and I've just always been really interested in that career field. I'm also very interested in hopefully one day opening up a daycare. I don't know if that's something I've ever mentioned on my channel, but I love the idea of opening up a daycare, being a business owner. And so that kind of ties into being, you know, a school teacher. It's the same type of, you know, career field, I guess you could say. So I have not changed my mind. I'm hoping that probably within the next year, if things start to really settle down enough, I can start taking classes again. I know that there's options to take, you know, classes online. I'm not a huge fan of online courses. I will take them. I'm totally fine with incorporating that into my schedule, but I don't want to do it completely online. So I have to try to figure that out still. But it's on pause right now, but it'll happen. Okay, so the next question is, are you done having children after the boys? I know I would be. I am, and I've never said that before. I've always felt like our family wasn't complete. I wanted to have another baby, but after having twins and having 3 children, I just feel like at peace, I guess, with like our family and how many children we have. Having 3 boys, I think is just awesome. If I was blessed with another baby in the future, I would love that. I think that would be so awesome. But am I going to seek that out? No. I just feel like we're complete, if that makes any sense. The twins were definitely a surprise, and it's always kind of this joke between my husband and I that we always went back and forth about how many kids to have. And he's always been like 2, you know, like 2 kids would be great, you know, and I'm always like, no, 3 or 4, you know, I think at least 3 is my minimum. Like, I want to have at least 3 kids. And so whenever we got pregnant and we found out that we were having twins, it was like so funny for us, because Matt's like, well, I guess you get your way, you know, like we're gonna have 3 kids. So 3 boys is great. So I think we're done. Okay, so the next question is, have you ever seen a ghost or had a paranormal experience? Thought it would be a fun question with Halloween around the corner. So what's the matter? I'm starting to have the little bald spot on the back. Oh my God, so cute. I don't know who this is. Deacon. Hi, Deacon. So paranormal experience. Growing up, we lived in a house that we all were convinced was haunted, just because like little weird things would happen. Not necessarily like I saw a ghost and you know, nothing like that, but just it was one of those houses where just weird things would happen. Like you would set your keys down on the bar and then they would turn out, you know, or they'd turn up in the other room, or you would just hear things and things like that. So I don't know if it was the house being haunted or if it was just a creepy house and just, you know, whatever, but I would say that that was probably my closest paranormal experience. It's just weird things like that happening. Okay, so the next question is, how do you plan your meals for a month, and how do you motivate yourself to stick to a meal plan and shopping list? So typically what I do is I open up my Excel spreadsheet and I count the days of the month, and I say, okay, we have 31 days this month, and I just start listing, literally like on line 1, meals, like ideas. Just, okay, like spaghetti, we'll have spaghetti twice this month. I know we're gonna go out to eat 4 times, so I'll go ahead and just fill those in, so that's 6 meals there. Spaghetti 2 nights, and eat out, you know, going out to eat 4 nights, so that's 6. Let's have some tacos, let's have some Salisbury steak, and I just start listing meals, and then I get to a point where I kind of hit a wall, and so then I hit Pinterest and I start finding like ideas and inspirations from there, and I just come up with 31 meals. I just try to fill up those spots, and then I look at the meals, and I go from like meal like 1 all the way down, and I think, okay, the first meal is spaghetti, so I know I need spaghetti sauce, pasta, noodles, and, you know, beef or whatever, and I make a grocery list from that, and then I just go to the grocery store and buy all the stuff, and then whenever I put it on a meal plan, I try to put it in a way where it's like, okay, we're not gonna have spaghetti twice, you know, back to back. So I'll have spaghetti on the first week and then spaghetti again at the last, you know, week. Or I know that these certain like vegetables or produce is only good, you know, are only good for a week or 2, so I'll have those at the beginning of the month. And I just try to like set it up in a way and like organize it to where I know it's something that we'll stick to. I also don't put meals that I know we're not gonna eat. That's kind of a mistake that I made at the very beginning when I used to grocery, or I used to do monthly meal plans, is that just to fill in those spots for like the 1 through 31 meals, I would do like, okay, well, we'll just have like chicken one night, you know, and like that way I could just put something down and, you know, we'll eat that. But then you get to that day where you'd have just chicken, and it's like, well, it's kind of boring. I don't want just chicken, so we would order a pizza, you know, so that doesn't, you know, work either. So I try to just find meals that I know we like, that I know we'll eat. I'm not a very good cook at all whatsoever, so I try to either make the meal simple so that I can like, I'll actually stick to making the meal, or I try to find some recipes that like, I try to force myself to make. I don't like recipes that have like a million different ingredients. I just get really overwhelmed with stuff like that. So I recently have been trying to find like at least like 1 meal a week where it's like, okay, this one crock pot meal that consists of like 20,000 different ingredients, I'm just gonna force myself to do it so that we eat something new and that I'm not being, you know, super lame. Another thing I wanna start doing is I wanna start kind of documenting like our meals and sharing it with you guys, because I feel like that'll help me to stay accountable with like, okay, I said on Friday we're gonna have chicken salad sandwiches, and so in order to stick to it, I have to like post this video so that you guys can help me to stay accountable, because if not, then I'll just order a pizza, because I'm just one of those people where I'm like, let's go to the grocery store, and all the way home, let's pick up McDonald's. You know, I'm just kind of bad. Okay, so the next question is, what advice would you give to a mama expecting twins? I would say just to try to be as prepared as you can prior to having them. We did some frozen meals that worked out very well for us. I try to have the house as clean as possible, because I'm the type of person that I cannot function in a mess. And I read a lot of twin books that were like, your house is gonna be a mess, and you know, you're gonna, you know, all these things are gonna go wrong, and just kind of accept it. And that might work for some people, but that doesn't necessarily work for me. I can't like function, honestly, like if my house is a wreck. It just drives me insane. And so in order for me to have like a good mental state, in order to take care of them, I just would try to find, you know, a good balance, like with whatever works for you. So if you're the type of person like I am, where it's like, your house needs to be clean, like just try to find some kind of a schedule where you set them down, you can clean up your living room, take 10 minutes, you know, if it makes you feel better, you know, great. If you don't really care about that kind of stuff, and you can look at a, you know, a laundry basket full of laundry. I just looked at a laundry basket. I have one right there. I'm so bad. I'm such a hypocrite. No, I'm just the type of person that I prefer to have a clean home. I function better that way. So if you're the type of person, you know, like whatever works for you, just try your best to prepare for that prior to having twins. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this part 1 of this Q&A, because I know this video is probably getting super long, and just expect a part 2 in the near future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.